You may believe that living life to the fullest is seeing every country in the world and quitting your job on a whim and falling recklessly in love. But it's really just knowing how to be where your feet are. It's learning how to take care of yourself, how to make a home within your own skin. It's learning how to build a simple life you're proud of. A life most fully lived is not always composed of the things that rock you awake, but those that slowly assure you it's okay to slow down, that you don't always have to prove yourself, that it's okay for things to just be as they are. Little by little, you will begin to see that life can only grow outward in proportion to how stable it is inward. That if the joy is not in the little things first, the big things won't fully find us.
You're listening to the Science and Spirit of Happy podcast, where we discuss the rational, strategic, and psychological methods, but also the deeper reasons and spiritual philosophy behind being happy down to the soul. Happiness isn't just hedonism. It's not even solely personal. Getting happy dramatically increases your effectiveness in every area, from business and finance to relationships. When we align with our own personal version of ideal, we end up not just happier, but healthier, more whole, more successful and richer, but even loving and loved. It's my opinion that getting happy for yourself is the absolute best way to serve the people in your life. I'm your host, Laura Lee Bowers, master healer and academic researcher, and this is another episode diving into the science and spirit of happy, a logical path to soul.
Get it, y'all! Welcome back. It's been a little bit, hasn't it? This is the holiday special of the Science and Spirit of Happy. I am so excited to be meeting you here on our 1-year anniversary. And I have some reckoning, I think, for y'all. As I've been taking months off. I've been gone for months. I paused the 3rd season of the Science and Spirit of Happy to work on the book that accompanies this season. And I thought that I would be back a lot quicker than I have been. So I need to talk to y'all about that. But the general discussion in this podcast is going to be finding peace in inherently kind of stressful situations, or just finding peace in general. But around the holidays, I think that they can be kind of extraordinarily triggering and stress-provoking. Being a parent now, I realize, especially for mothers, typically, how much stress there can be in this season, and how little it's talked about in a season that's supposed to be full of joy. So instead of wishing you a happy holidays today, I really want to wish you a peaceful holidays and talk about that, about having a peaceful holiday and how we do that no matter what circumstances we find ourselves in. So the reason that I'm speaking to you now about this, especially considering the break that I took, is because I took the break to find peace. And this is becoming a lot more popular, I think, in practice, that people are taking breaks. You know, Brené Brown took an extended break just a while back from social and a lot of other things, just to to take a break so that she didn't get completely overwhelmed. And I really appreciate that we're seeing this in practice a lot more. And I guess people are talking about a little bit that I've seen, but not as much as we really should be. Because when we're talking about, getting to big goals, that's what I typically talk about, is getting to big goals to be yourself, and not, who your parents created you to be. And in being ourselves, we often have really big goals. There's not enough discussion about how much rest and being at peace and being grounded has to do with success. Because the people that are successful, a lot of the really core elements of being successful and being happy is intuitive and it's not conscious. So people have a really hard time explaining it because normally they've either been born into, a family that raised them to be happy. They've been surrounded by the right circumstances, or they've figured it out intuitively. And it's very difficult to break down. Even for myself, it was very difficult to break down into steps what I'd found in my research and my experience with healing and philosophy and spirituality and the data. But rest is as important as action. And in a season that can be so busy, we need to be yelling these things from the rooftops. And not just that rest is so crucial to development, to progress, but also that progress isn't about a visual, right? Progress is not about whether you do all the things. And for the holidays, it's, doing all the Christmas things puts a lot of pressure on people. And again, getting back to that, mothers especially, but also, people who don't have families or aren't in the situations that would facilitate having, the picture perfect holiday, whether that's, financial or relational or, mental, emotional, etc. And I think that this expected visual of what, Christmas and holidays and happiness should look like, I think we really get the wrong idea about what happiness really, truly is. So this morning I was in yoga. I have a new morning routine, and I'm going to share that more going forward when I'm back full time. But I'm going to a new yoga studio that I love. And today the yoga teacher shared this quote with me that really struck a chord and inspired me to record this episode. I wanted to release an episode for the 1-year anniversary, but I felt like recording one was just such a better way to talk about what I wanted to talk about and really celebrate this 1 year of the Science and Spirit of Happy, because I'm so happy with it still. And taking a break was definitely not out of stress or overwhelm or not wanting to work. I really did want to work. What happened is I just moved across the world. I achieved this giant, enormous goal that's been a goal, I think, at least in the back of my mind for like a decade and a half since I first came here. And it's definitely been on my mind since we left 6 years ago. It's been a very specific goal to get back here. And coming with a family it's a whole different thing. It's a whole nother level. And it's all been falling into place really beautifully. There's a lot of kickback from that too. When we achieve goals, there is a lot of kickback that we have to process this next level and this next stage that we're in, that I'll talk about again when I come back full time for sure. But I'm really happy with where the Science and Spirit of Happy is. We've gained over 1K subscribers on YouTube. We've gained over 4K subscribers on Instagram, TikTok. I don't know, in the first 3 weeks, I got like 250 subscribers, and that is like it. Since then, I have no idea. I'm not doing TikTok properly, apparently, but I'm loving where we're at with the Science and Spirit of Happy, even though things, like nothing has gone to plan. Nothing has gone to plan. I have been taking a break to finish the book and to finish the membership site, and I will be back. But in the meantime, I really wanted to share this quote with you. It's from Brianna Wiest. You may believe that living life to the fullest is seeing every country in the world and quitting your job on a whim and falling recklessly in love. But it's really just knowing how to be where your feet are. It's learning how to take care of yourself, how to make a home within your own skin. It's learning how to build a simple life you're proud of. A life most fully lived is not always composed of the things that rock you awake, but those that slowly assure you it's okay to slow down, that you don't always have to prove yourself, that it's okay for things to just be as they are. Little by little, you will begin to see that life can only grow outward in proportion to how stable it is inward. That if the joy is not in the little things first, the big things won't fully bind us. I thought this was so pertinent, especially for this season, because I think that visual has become even more aggressive in the social media age. So just to illustrate what I mean, initially, when I came to Australia almost 15 years ago, Christmas wasn't a big thing. People went to the beach. Maybe you'd see people surfing in a Christmas hat, and kids would get, a present. That was usually like a beach thing or whatever. They had barbecues, drank a bit. It's a holiday. But in the winter Northern Hemisphere Western cultures, it's a completely different thing. And I think it's just because it's winter. There's nothing going on. So we make this big thing out of this holiday so that we have something going on. And we make these advent calendars. I have a big homemade advent calendar to my left here. My son's got little activities to do every day, or little, cars and things, little toys. We make all these activities and these parties and these favors, my giant Christmas tree beside me, because it's winter and it's boring. So we have something to do in December, have this big celebration and get together with everybody and bring joy into our lives. But in Australia, it's summertime. It's summertime in the Southern Hemisphere, so there's really no need to kind of siphon joy and find an excuse to be together, or find things to do, things to entertain us, because it's summertime. People are on the beach and they're doing things just like any other culture in the summertime. People have lots and lots and lots of things to do. This year, I've been hearing from fellow parents, especially mothers, that they're feeling the holiday overwhelm, that everybody is super extra busy and that they're stressed out. And I see on social media all these Australian parents and people trying to tick off all the boxes of Christmas, and often some of them not having a good time doing it. And I think this is largely because of two things. Social media is showing, people in Australia, and especially parents and mothers specifically, all of these Christmas things. So the expectations that they do all of these Christmas things have newly arrived. And then the other side of it is that it doesn't actually really fit where we are. It doesn't fit culturally because of the season that we're in. And summer's already busy. Summer's already hectic. Summer's already full. So I see these people really not having a good time because they're trying to live up to some sort of expectations. They're feeling pressure to deliver this visual, to rise to these expectations of them that don't actually fit their scenario, don't fit their circumstance. Because summer is busy already. Summer is already full. So this really harkens to how we're learning to be fulfilled too, especially in a social media age when there is this visual of all of the boxes on the checklist that should be ticked in order to live that full life. So I just wanted to go through this quote because it really, really spoke to me. And just talk about it almost like line for line, just explaining how to find peace, even in scenarios that really demand a lot from you, or just in general. The first line says, "You may believe that living life to the fullest is seeing every country in the world, quitting your job on a whim and falling recklessly in love. But it's really just knowing how to be where your feet are." So in this scenario that I'm talking about, where, the Australians are feeling this like pressure to perform Christmas, even though it's like seasonally inappropriate, that's physically kind of not knowing how to be where your feet are, feeling like you need to be somewhere else, living up to the expectations of someone somewhere else. But I love this idea of traveling that's also spoken about here, because I've traveled extensively. And I have seen so many people in countries, especially in the social media age, because I started traveling pre-social media, essentially, like it was as Facebook was coming out, but pre-Instagram, what we now know as social. And post-social media becoming a big thing, traveling, I've seen so many people where you can feel viscerally like they have arrived in a country expecting that arriving was going to give them something, that it was going to be fantastic just because they're there, that, traveling was going to be this, life-altering like experience that is interesting and adventurous just on its own. And that is so disappointing. And I'm sure there's people that are listening or watching this right now that can relate to going somewhere and expecting that just arriving, the experience would be given to them, because the visual is being sold. The visual of having the adventure is being sold to us. We're buying into it. But living life to the fullest, according to Brianna Wiest, it really isn't about seeing every country in the world or checking these things off of a checklist that other people are doing to feel fulfilled. If you feel called to travel, it's going to be fulfilling. And I have lots of tips if you want to know how to have fulfilling travel. But if you're not called to traveling, then that is not what's going to make you feel fulfilled. Falling recklessly in love or quitting your job and going on some kind of entrepreneurial journey, just because that is how someone else found their fulfillment, and we hear these stories all the time, does not mean that that's where you're going to find your fulfillment. And truly, traveling is really hard. Traveling is awful sometimes. It's awful. I had an awful time in Thailand with my child. Traveling with a child, completely different thing. Even though I love Thailand, traveling solo, it was awful with a child. And even traveling solo, it was awful a lot of the times. And then it became, phenomenal too. Just like a lot of things are both awful and phenomenal, especially when we're talking about personal growth. But that doesn't have to be the journey for everyone. Really living a full life, it's here. Having a full Christmas, it's here. It's not in the tree. I have a 9-foot tree. It's enormous. I have ornaments that say joy, and they're like in balloon letters. Ornaments. That's not going to bring me joy unless it aligns with the experience that I truly want to experience. And that's what she's talking about. Knowing how to be where your feet are, filling your shoes, filling the space that you are in. This is where fulfillment comes from. This is where a full life comes from. It comes from landing. Landing in the relationship that you want to be in, not the storybook fairy tale that you heard about. The next line, it's learning how to take care of yourself. How to make a home within your own skin. Again, it's not about the tree or the surroundings. It's not about buying the house. It's not about furnishing it tastefully. It's about the inner home within you, taking care of yourself, keeping this tidy and organized and aligned with your goals, with who you are, because those two things are one and the same. It's learning how to build a simple life you're proud of. Simple meaning lacking complexity, lacking complications. When complications arrive, when confusion arrives, you simplify it. Make it straightforward line. This is why I took a break. Things got way too complex. And I just simplified. I started taking care of my little one full-time too. I'm like a stay-at-home mom. I just simplified. I focused. I stopped doing extra and just focused on the core stuff. And being proud of that means you're living in integrity. And if there's anything that's going to make you truly fulfilled and at peace, which is happiness, it's living aligned with your values. It's integrity, living a life that you're proud of. You are, not the visuals on Instagram. A life most fully lived is not always composed of the things that rock you awake, but those that slowly assure you it's okay to slow down, that you don't always have to prove yourself, that you don't need to fight forever or constantly want more, that it's okay for things to just be as they are. That's the break that I'm talking about. The break is as important as the striving. The break is where you can look around and appreciate. The break is also understanding that you don't need to get all the way there, even if the visual and the experience that you want truly does align with who you are and what's going to make you feel fulfilled, make you happy, and it's on the path to you becoming the best version of yourself and the most, expressed version of your true self, of your soul. It's okay to be here where you are now. Like, you don't need to get there before you can be proud and be whole and feel peace in where you are now, in who you are now, in the journey. Little by little, you'll begin to see that life can only grow outward in proportion to how stable it is inward. That if the joy is not in the little things first, the big things won't fully find us. And this is something that I can't stress enough, that, the opening of this little excerpt, the visiting the countries, the going on the big trip, the quitting your job and going on some entrepreneurial journey, and falling recklessly in love, these big swooping moves that we hear about because they're dramatic and they're entertaining and they're inspiring. And we love them because they're so risky. That is not where the real change happens. The real change in my life didn't happen when I flew across the world and landed in a foreign country, not knowing what the heck I was going to do or where I was going to go. The real change happened when I got up every day and found grace and found connection to myself, my true self, and found inspiration in who I truly was and what I wanted to be, and found openness to see where I wasn't the person that I wanted to be, that I truly was, or that I was something that was created by my experiences. And working daily with habits and routines, creating that life, that simple life that I was proud of. That is where sweeping change happened. And the little things are really what define us. They're really what shape our lives. They're really what give way to the big things. If you ask anybody who's made a big move, that move didn't come from nowhere. It came from little steps in the right direction. It came from little nudges of a soul that wasn't going to be overwhelmed indefinitely. And it was most certainly sustained by a calling and a decision to carry on. Plenty of people got up and left and didn't have a good time. Plenty of people threw themselves into that relationship and ended up heartbroken. Plenty of people quit their jobs and ended up having to get another one. It's not the big sweeping moves. It's the little ones. And it's not about the visual, okay? It's about a feeling. So in this season that is so commodified, and I'm not even against like materialism or like commodification or anything like that. I mean, I enjoy these things as much as anybody else in the world does. But in a season that is so, where happiness, where joy is so materialized and commodified and marketed, I urge you to find peace in yourself, in your life, in wherever you are now. Even if that's just because you know that you're going to be somewhere better next year. So I'm really happy to touch base with y'all. And I am on social media every day still. That's how I simplified. I just started doing social every day and working on the book, as opposed to putting podcasts out. So I do have the rest of the season, and the season after that is going to be on parenting. So if you're interested in that, definitely subscribe for that. But also this season in this book that I'm writing, how to be yourself, not your parents, not the person that your parents created you to be, not the person that your experiences shaped you as, but to be the true version of yourself, the best version of you, is coming out in a few months as well. And I can't wait for that. You can get the book actually, you can get the pre-order for $5 for the ebook. I won't be able to do that price ever again after it's out, just because of agreements. But like legally, I won't be able to offer that. So definitely get that now because it's going to be life-changing. I'm really, really proud of the work that I've been doing and putting into it. So the podcast will be back in a few more months. We'll finish off the season, How to Not Be Like Your Parents, and start on the next season, Parenting, and release the book and do all the things really, really soon after. So I'm wishing you all a happy holiday season, celebrating 1 year of the science and spirit of happy. Oh, and 7 years with my partner. This was the December 21st, the winter solstice is our anniversary of talking every day. We started talking every day starting the winter solstice 7 years ago. So it's been 7 years of that. And you know what? We were friends first. I often look at it as like being this like very stable relationship that was built into, you know, a relationship, this kind of like very traditional old school love story, not modern. But my husband actually did fly across the world to be with me. And that was kind of how we started our relationship, was moving in together, buying a fake engagement ring. I had a fake engagement ring because we lived in a Muslim country. So that was a pretty big sweeping gesture. But that big sweeping gesture was built on so much little actions of trust being built between us. And that was a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So focus, especially in this season, especially if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and it's winter. Winter is really about introspection. Like, focus on those little things. Focus on those little trust building, stabilizing, grounding activities that really put you in touch with yourself. And the big things will happen. Or when you have to actually do the big things, they're not going to feel like big, scary things. They're going to feel natural. So I'm wishing you all a very peaceful holidays and a very, very, very inspired new year. I hope that your goals align with the biggest and best version of you. And I will be here to help you achieve that. So like, subscribe, follow, share, all the things to come along with me on this journey, and bring your friends along too. If you love someone, you want them to be happy. So until next time, y'all, until next year, I bid you adieu. Happy holidays. G'day, y'all.